Hello and welcome back to another week of playing Pauper. I'm your host, Jake Stiles, and the deck this week is something called 5 Color Bogles. It had some recent success in some leagues on Magic Online, and I took a look at it. I tweaked it just a little bit in the main deck, tweaked a couple of the sideboard slots, and I wanted to run it through a league and show it to you guys and see what you thought. So the basis of the deck are the Bogles, Glade Cover Scout and Slippery Bogle, which are both 1-mana 1/1s with hexproof. So we're going to enchant these up with a bunch of different stuff and use them to smash our opponent and hope that they can't deal with them due to them having hexproof. We also run some other creatures in the deck. We have a Sylvan Ranger to help us find our plains or our forests, generally our plains. Core Skyfisher, it can reuse Abundant Growth, it can re-trigger some lands that we're going to show later to get the right type of mana. It does a couple cool different things in the deck. And finally, Heliod's Pilgrim, which is a tutor that comes on a stick that lets us go find an aura card and put it into our hand. So here are some of the most important enchantments in the deck. The 4 Ethereal Armor are definitely the strongest. It says enchanting creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. So this counts all enchantments, it counts itself, it counts things that aren't even auras, like it counts your Journey to Nowheres. It counts things that enchant lands instead of creatures, like your Abundant Growths. So this can easily give +4/+4, +5/+5, and the first strike is also nice for making sure they can't try to double block and take your creature down. Once you have a lot of pump from something like Ethereal Armor, Rancor gives Trample, which is nice for being able to overcome chump blocking. Next we have Favor of the Overbeing. For Glade Cover Scout, we obviously only get the first half of this, but for Slippery Bogle, it's green and blue hybrid, so we get +2/+2 Vigilance and Flying just for this 2-mana aura, which is a pretty good deal. Next we have 4 Armadillo Cloak, and the life gain on this makes it very easy to race opposing aggressive decks. And it's also a pseudo lifelink ability, it's a triggered ability. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. So if we put 2 Armadillo Cloaks on something, we actually gain life twice. Which is not true of normal lifelink because normal lifelink doesn't stack like that. Here we have the last of our creature auras. We have a singleton Aqueous Form, which as you notice is not green or white like most of the other spells in the deck, but we do have ways of making blue mana. This is our way of not having to worry about trample or worry about how many blockers we have, just straight up giving unblockability. And the scry one is a nice little bonus, but it's not the main reason you run the card. We also have one of Fists of Ironwood we can also fetch up with the Heliod's Pilgrim. This is nice against edict effects like Chanter's Edict, Diabolic Edict for protecting our creatures and giving buffer creatures that we can get rid of, while also granting trample at the same time. And last we have Moldivrine Cloak, 3 mana +3/+3, and the Dredge is a really cool effect against control decks. So if you are able to resolve a Boggle against a deck that has a lot of counterspells, then you can just keep on dredging back the Moldivrine Cloak to your hand and recasting it until they run out of counter magic. So even if they have a handful of counter magic, you can eventually overcome that just by cast Moldivrine, cast Moldivrine, cast Moldivrine. And they can never really let it resolve unless they have a Gurmag Angler out, because giving you a 4/4 hexproof is basically unbeatable for them. To fix our mana, we have 4 Abundant Growth, which can make a land tap for any color, Karametra's Favor, which can make a creature tap for any color, and they both cantrip when they come in, so they're nice to pick up with our Core Skyfisher and replay. And then we have our removal spells. We have a single Deadweight and 3 Journey to Nowhere. I would probably just go with a 4th Journey here, but Deadweight being an aura is able to be fetched by Heliod's Pilgrim, which does give it an upside, but I don't think it's enough of an upside just because Journey to Nowhere hits anything. Our mana base is not exactly straightforward. We have basics for green and white mana, but when it comes to the blue and black mana for Aqueous Form and Deadweight and some other stuff in our sideboard that's red, we have 4 Colony Garden, which gives us plant tokens to protect us against sacrifice effects. And then here's the things that produce any color mana. We have 3 Crumbling Vestige, which give us mana of any color 1 time when they come in. They're very good to enchant with Abundant Growth as well to make them lands that tap for any color. And also Holdout Settlement. So we generally have some useless creatures lying around, the non-Bogles that aren't generally attacking that we can tap and use to get mana of any color. So the mana base is certainly awkward, but it tends to work for the most part. In Sideboard, we have 2 Electrickery against the token decks and Delver, 2 Hydroblast against Burn and other red decks, 2 Scattershot Archer against Delver and maybe Squadron Hawk decks, and 3 Young Wolf. Young Wolf is very good against sacrifice effects, against black control decks or blue-black control decks, since they have to remove this twice before they can move on to trying to use the sacrifice effect to kill a Boggle. And then finally we have a Lone Missionary against Burn, 3 Standard Bearer against Burn or other types of removals decks that we want to make them waste removal on their Standard Bearer. and 2 Tangle against other decks that are similar to ours that are trying to deal damage in large bursts, such as Is It Blitz. Anyway, that's it for the decks, so let's get to the games and see how we do. As always, remember, if you have a deck that you want me to play, you can send me a list at pauper@mtggoldfish.com or tweet it to me at jakestylesmtg. I'm always happy to debut viewer submissions in the series.